The Vikings just beat the Bears, so week 1 is officially over, and I've got to say, man, did I miss football, because I watched this and I question, how on earth did we all go 5 months without watching the NFL? It was just incredible game on incredible game. Unfortunately, I don't think this game today quite lived up to the hype of the week. It was still a decent game, don't get me wrong, but when we had maybe one of the greatest football games you'll ever watch yesterday, and we had some unbelievable one-possession games. The Cowboys-Eagles was a one-possession game. The Chargers-Chiefs was a one-possession game. The Raiders-Patriots, Steelers-Jets, Cardinals-Saints, Falcons-Buccaneers, Seahawks-Niners, Rams-Texans, Broncos-Titans, Browns-Bengals. Almost every single game this week was a one-possession game, and man, I just ate it all up. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm so excited to talk about it a little bit today, where I am going to be talking about some overreactions to NFL Week 1. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Hello and welcome into the backfield. I'm your host Connor Schaff, and today I will be judging some overreactions and talking a bit about week 1 in the NFL. This was a great week of football, and I'm just so excited to talk about it, so I'm not going to give too long of an introduction, and I'm going to get right into it. So we are going to start with our first game of the week on Thursday Night Football. We had the Cowboys at the Eagles, and I honestly think many people were surprised by the Cowboys' performance in this game. The Cowboys honestly should have won this game. If it wasn't for 2 late CeeDee Lamb drops that were just quite shocking to see, I think the Cowboys would have won this game. And where you have to look at for the Eagles is that the Eagles' run game took a brain. The Eagles' run game was just as good as you would expect. Jalen Hurts has a great rushing game. Saquon Barkley gets the job done, gets his touchdown. And now you hear that they have traded for Tank Bigsby as well, which really solidifies this run game. And if I was an Eagles fan, I would be very, very happy with the state of the run game. Now, where I would be much, much more concerned if I was an Eagles fan was the passing game. And the passing game was not great in any way. Your leading receiver for this game was Jahan Dotson. Maybe it was Dallas Goedert, don't quote me on it, but it definitely wasn't A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith, which is, in every single game, the 2 guys you hope to be leading your receiving game, and they both didn't get involved at all. A.J. Brown did absolutely nothing during the game. Devonta Smith got a couple of check down receptions, but nothing too crazy, and I think that's a bit of a concern to take out of the game, is their passing game. But I do expect them to bounce back next week. I think they play the Giants on Thursday Night Football. Wait, do they? No. They play... That must be another week. Next week, they play the Kansas City Chiefs. So that will be quite something. And some other week during the year, I know they play the Giants. I was watching the Manning cast earlier, and they were talking about the game. So, between the Eagles and the Giants on Thursday Night Football. So for some reason that made me think it was next week, but obviously we have the big game between the Eagles and the Chiefs. So yeah, I would be a little bit concerned if I was an Eagles fan, but I wouldn't overreact. This is a no on the overreaction. So looking at the Cowboys side though, I do think that people have hated on the Cowboys too much this offseason, and I do not think they will be that bad. If you watched my preseason predictions, I have the Cowboys going 9-8, and I honestly thought they would get destroyed in this game. You saw me joke in pretty much every single video over the last 2 weeks that I made, joking about how bad the Eagles would be down on the Cowboys, and this is as someone who thought the Cowboys would go 9-8 this year. So I honestly think this just solidifies my point of view that this team will be very good. Let's move on to our Friday night game in Brazil. We had the Chargers taking on the Chiefs 27-21. And let me just say, I think there's some positives the Chargers can take out of this game, but if I was a Chiefs fan, I would be very, very concerned right now. because I watched that game and I saw Patrick Mahomes have to do absolutely everything for this team. There was no real production out of anybody on this team outside of Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Hollywood Brown was the outlet for Patrick Mahomes during this game after Xavier Worthy got injured. It'll be interesting to see what his timetable to return is. I've heard some conflicting reports. Fortunately, I think it looks like he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. But you think this is now, you'll now not have Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice for the entire first 6 games of the season now. And when you're playing the Eagles next week, and you honestly have quite a difficult schedule, and you're in a division where every other team won this week, and no, the Broncos don't look good, but the Raiders looked very good. Can you cope with this division and your play for these first 6 games? Now, I do generally expect the Chiefs to bounce back, but I am very, very concerned about this team. And I will say, I predicted them to lose this game. I will be predicting them to lose to the Eagles next week, which I would have predicted in preseason as well. I just think it's more so how they lost this game and how underwhelming the surrounding cast of Mahomes looked in this game. On the other hand, the Chargers, I think you got to be very excited about, and really where you got to be excited is the passing game, because the complete opposite to what we had with the Eagles. Quentin Johnston all of a sudden could catch the ball. It was incredible. And this team just turned it on. They looked great. Keenan Allen got involved in the way you would want him to. It was a great performance for the Chargers. I think defensively they didn't really do anything special. I think that's my big concern for them this year is their defensive game, and we'll see how they perform against a team that actually has receivers. But I think that the Chargers offense, you've got to be so optimistic if you're a Chargers fan. That game passing wise was unreal, and yeah, I think that it is a great sign for the Chargers in the future. We will move on to our Sunday slate of games though, where the Buccaneers take down the Falcons 23-20. The Buccaneers missed multiple field goals during the game. Well, they may have missed, I think they missed a field goal and an extra point during the game. And then Younghoe Koo misses the game-tying field goal to give the Buccaneers the go-ahead win. And if I was a Buccaneers fan right now, all I'd be thinking of is Emeka Egbuka. This guy looks like a future star for this team, and I don't even know if you have to say future. This guy got 2 touchdowns for you in this game. I think you are so optimistic seeing this performance from Emeka Egbuka. Maybe you're a little concerned with how Baker Mayfield played in the passing game. I think he overthrew a lot of balls. Rushing-wise, he really got off to the same form you would expect from him. And honestly, the running game from the Buccaneers looks like what you wanted to see. It wasn't anything too special, but they got the job done. Bucky Irving was involved in the receiving game. Maybe you want to see a little bit more production out of him in the rushing game, but it was enough, especially when you're playing a top 3 running back on the other side of the ball. And for the Falcons side, I honestly don't know if you can take any negatives out of this game. Obviously, Bijan Robinson really doesn't produce in the running game, partly because he got so many short yardage situations he was put in, and they really didn't rely on him as much as I think they should in the over the course of the entire game. I really wish you would give him 20 plus carries, and I don't really see the argument for why you shouldn't. But yeah, I think that they had some positives. I thought Michael Penix had an exceptional game, if I'm being completely honest with you. He had the go-ahead touchdown to win the game before the Buccaneers rolled back down the field and took the lead themselves. But Michael Penix had this unbelievable dive that turned out to be a touchdown. I think that gives you so much optimism for him as your quarterback. I think that you're also very excited about what Kyle Pitts gave you in the passing game. Uh, he might be one of the most hated players in the NFL just because of his fantasy output over the last few years, but he got around 60 yards in this game, so I think you're pretty happy with how he performed. Yeah, and I don't think that there's a lot of negatives to take out of the Falcons. You're playing a team that has consistently been among the best teams in the NFC for the last few years. You expected them to pick up right where they left off, and you kept it close in week 1. I think it'll be a much more telling sign if in week 2 they can keep up this performance. They play the Minnesota Vikings, so that should be a very interesting game, actually. It looks like the Vikings are favored. I'm not sure I agree with the margin, which is 4.5 points. I think that's a pretty good under to go for. But yeah, I was impressed with the Falcons' performance, and I think they'll bounce back and win some games this year. We now have the Bengals taking down the Cleveland Browns, and this game was a little bizarre because I kind of expected it to be an offensive battle with very little defense outside of quarterback pressures on Joe Burrow. And yes, there was a lot of quarterback pressures on Joe Burrow, but honestly, the Bengals defense got the job done too. Now, do I think you should take a bunch of stock in this if you're a Bengals fan that your defense is now solved? No. You just beat Joe Flacco and Jerry Jeudy and Harold Fannin by 1 point. It's not a performance to be very happy about. But I will say, if you're a Bengals fan, you do something that you've struggled to do in past years, which is win in week 1, and you beat a division rival. The Browns aren't going to be a good team, but you still get the job done, and that's all you can really ask for. On the Browns side, I don't think there's really too much stock to take in this game. Maybe you're excited about Harold Fannin's production as your tight end. I think you're happy with how your defense played for the most part. Myles Garrett is obviously a beast. I think he is going to be the Browns going 2-15 away from winning the Defensive Player of the Year. He'll probably be the deserving winner, but he won't win it because of how bad the Browns are. So yeah, I don't think there's too much stock you can take from this game on either side. It's a division battle. It's not representative of how good these teams will actually be. So we will now move on to, I'm sure you can see here, I am very much a Colts fan, and I am very much a Anthony Richardson believer and Daniel Jones hater. Turns out Daniel Jones might be the second coming of Tom Brady. Not really Tom Brady, but maybe more of a Aaron Rodgers, kind of a dual threat mastermind that we just saw during this game. No, let me get in all seriousness here. I think there are very much two sides you can take to this game. Either the Colts are one of the best teams in the NFL, or the Miami Dolphins are one of the worst teams in the NFL. And unfortunately, for as much as I want to say that the Colts are among the best teams in the NFL, I think it's the latter, and the Dolphins are awful. Now let's talk about the positives for the Colts a little bit. Obviously, Daniel Jones doesn't make any mistakes during this game. This is what you want to see if you're a Colts fan. In addition to that, the defense does everything you could ever imagine you wanting them to do. This was a revamped defense coming in this year, a defense I was honestly very excited about, and I think the media was heavily underselling it. I predicted the Colts to go 9-8 this year, and I think that should be the minimum expectation for them at this point. I think that they might even be the favorites for the division now with how the Texans look. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. But when you see that defense performance from the Colts, now Michael Pittman rebounds from his injury last year. I think there's a lot to be excited about. I also want to give a quick mention to Tyler Warren. He's going to be among the favorites for Rookie of the Year, you have to think. This, or Offensive Rookie of the Year. He is so good, man. I'm so excited to see what he can do. Let's talk a bit about the Dolphins, though. And man, I would be concerned about this team. And a lot of it has to do not only with Tua's performance, but the effort out of the team throughout the game, too. They kept cutting on the sideline to Tyreek Hill getting angry, and people arguing with each other on the bench. It was a mess. And if they keep having performances like this, Mike McDaniel is about to become a hot seat front runner. And it's an awful defensive performance. You allow the Colts to have a record-breaking game. And on the offense side of the ball, it's just a total mess. I wouldn't be surprised if performances continue like this. If Tyreek Hill goes on the move, joins a new team, maybe he returns to the Chiefs, maybe something else. It wasn't good at all. I'm gonna say some bad things about this Dolphins team if I continue for too much longer. It was very, very, very bad from them. We'll move on to what is probably a little bit more positive, at least on one side, is the Las Vegas Raiders taking down the New England Patriots. And I was honestly very, very low on this Las Vegas Raiders team. I did not think they would be good at all. And they honestly look great. Geno Smith has an unbelievable performance this game. He makes Jacoby Myers look like the best receiver in the NFL. He works in his tight ends. Hopefully Brock Bowers is not injured, but if you totally ignore a fantasy football perspective, I have Brock Bowers on my fantasy team, so I would like to see him get every reception out of this tight end room. But I honestly like what they have going with Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer was someone I was very high on when he came out of Notre Dame. So I think they have a very, very nice 1-2 punch between the two. And that really expands their offense well using these two tight end sets. And I don't really think you should overreact to this too much if you're a Raiders fan, because I do think on the other token, the New England Patriots did not look great. But yeah, I would be optimistic, but not too optimistic if you're a Raiders fan, especially when you see how the Chiefs and Broncos performed. But let's talk about the other side, which was the New England Patriots. And I would say outside of Drake May, there wasn't a lot of positives out of this game. There is the glaring thing that Christian Gonzalez was injured. You have him, maybe you win this game. You probably don't allow Geno Smith to have 400 passing yards. And overall, your defense plays a lot better, allowing your offense to get more opportunities. But I think where I'm concerned is that I just didn't love the play calling in this game, to be honest. I didn't like the running back usage. I really don't understand why Ramondre Stevenson got used so much out of the backfield. Any snap you watch from Travion Henderson in comparison to Ramondre Stevenson, it was clear to me that Henderson was the better running back of the two. It was clear that he was more explosive, had more big play potential, had more effort there. And yeah, I'm surprised Stevenson got so much of a workload in this game. I do expect that to shift a little bit in the next upcoming weeks, but it definitely was quite surprising to see. And I think the other thing is that your receivers just don't really do anything. It's obviously you don't really have a great receiver in this room. Stephon Diggs is pretty old and washed at this point, but you do want to see a little bit more out of these guys. It's a tough performance from them. You want to see them perform better, especially for a team that many people expected would be one of the big risers from this year. We now move on to the Arizona Cardinals taking down the New Orleans Saints. I don't really think there's too much to take from the Arizona Cardinals this game. Kyler Murray reportedly was sick coming into this game, and so he was on the injury report with listed with a sickness before the game. He did play. He looked fine. Nothing special, nothing too bad. I do think Trey Benson showed you some pretty exciting things. As you expect Trey Benson to get more and more of a workload this year over James Conner. I think that the other thing you're very happy about is Marvin Harrison Jr. I thought he was great this game. He was consistently getting open. He looked like that guy that just was always there for Kyler Murray when he needed it. I know that sounds like this super personal thing. No, this is all football based. I do hope Marvin Harrison Jr. is there for Kyler Murray on a daily basis, but who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I think Kyler Murray looks fine. everything else looks pretty good. But honestly, what I want to talk a little bit more about is the New Orleans Saints. And okay, am I super biased here because I thought Spencer Rattler played well last season and I thought he wasn't going to be that bad this year? 100%. But do I think my point was proven just a little bit? Yeah, I thought Spencer Rattler played quite well. I thought he led the team down the field quite well. I think that Arizona played great defense towards the end of the game. And I honestly think they could have won the game. And I think Spencer Rattler did a lot to help that fact. There's really not a ton more to talk about here. That's really what I wanted to focus on, was that I thought Spencer Rattler looked good. This was one of the write-off games of the week. Not a lot happened. It's there. It was enjoyable. Maybe not. That's about it. But let's move on to what might have been the most exciting game of the week if it wasn't for a certain game where a team was down 15 points and somehow managed to come back because a team decided to not go for it on fourth down. But we'll get to that later. Instead, we'll have the Aaron Rodgers Redemption Tour and sort of also the Justin Fields Redemption Tour, where both quarterbacks play unbelievable. I kind of was thinking about this while watching the game. If the roles were reversed and Justin Fields was the starting quarterback for the Steelers in this game, and Aaron Rodgers was the starting quarterback for the Jets in this game, would either offense do as well as they did? I don't think so. So I think if you're a fan of either team, you are super optimistic after this game. I don't think if you're a Jets fan, you should be disappointed at all with this performance. Maybe you want your defense to play a little bit better, allowing a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers to have 4 touchdowns on you. Maybe is a little disappointing, especially for a defense that's supposed to be pretty good. I actually thought you pressured him pretty well throughout the game. You got a few sacks on him. But I think where you're really optimistic is, one, your running game. Breece Hall looks in midseason form. He looks great. Justin Fields did what you expect in the running game. And what you have to be super proud of is his performance in the passing game. He has this great connection with Garrett Wilson. We saw it in college at Ohio State, and it seems to be continuing here. It was a very good performance for Justin Fields, and I think it's a performance that makes you very optimistic. On the other hand, you have the Steelers. It was definitely I think, obviously, we talk about Aaron Rodgers. Really, nothing happens in the run game. This team isn't going to run the ball at all. You're entirely reliant on Aaron Rodgers in the pass game. We'll see if he can hold up at his age with that. It's pretty much how the Jets offense was last year with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Just a lot less effective than this was seemingly. But yeah, I think you're very happy with this performance. Obviously you are, but I think it gives you optimism for the rest of the year. I also think maybe you're a little concerned about DK Metcalf. I felt a lot of his receptions were very forced. He had one very good reception, but I think it'll be interesting to see if he can gain a rapport with Aaron Rodgers throughout the year. But I don't think there's too many negatives to take. Obviously, also you hope your defense to play better, but you get the job done in offense, and that's really all you can ask for. We now move on to probably the most uninteresting game to talk about this week. The Commanders get the job done over the Giants. Yeah, that's about what I expect to happen. Maybe I'm a little disappointed in the Giants' performance in this game. I gotta be honest, I don't know what Russell Wilson is doing starting for this team. I know there were some talks about whether Jackson Dart would start week 2. It seems like they're going with Russell Wilson again. If he has another bad performance, though, then maybe you get in Jackson Dart, because I don't want to watch Russell Wilson play quarterback this whole year. I want to watch the exciting guy that was the best player to play in preseason in like the last 10 years. He was just easily the best preseason player, or at least the best performer. Let's not say like Mahomes and Josh Allen played snaps in preseason. There's nothing impressive. You can't compare Jackson Dart to those guys, but he had 3 great performances in 3 preseason games. That's what I'm trying to say. Maybe you're a little concerned if you're a Commanders fan about Terry McLaurin in this game. Weirdly, obviously he missed his most training camp with the hold-in, but weirdly, there just didn't seem like much of a rapport between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. He felt a lot more comfortable with his other two receivers, uh, in uh, in Zach Ertz and Deebo Samuel than he did in Terry McLaurin throughout this game, and I think that's something maybe you have to be a little concerned about. I expect that to get better throughout the season, but it's definitely something to note. Now let's move swiftly on from this very interesting game and talk about another uninteresting game, but maybe one that has a bit more to talk about. Let's start with the Carolina Panthers. They looked awful. I don't know what to even say here. Maybe you need to bench Bryce Young for 3 more weeks, just so he can all of a sudden remember how to play quarterback again. But man, this is not a performance that gives you optimism if you are a Carolina Panthers fan. It just, nothing looked good for this team. And it's not like the Jaguars even played well. They had no passing game, and they still crushed you by 2 scores. It wasn't good enough at all. This game really should be like 26-3. You got a garbage time score. It's not. There's not. Oh man, I have a piece of hair sticking out. Let's fix that. Hopefully that wasn't there for too long. That's a little embarrassing there. But no, it wasn't good from the Panthers at all. Bryce Young did not look good. Hopefully he gets better, but yeah, it doesn't inspire optimism. On the other hand, the Jaguars, for as dominant as the performance this was, I think you're a little bit concerned. Obviously, Travis Etienne. Trevor Etienne plays for the Panthers, I think. Travis Etienne absolutely carries your team this game, has 143 rushing yards out of absolutely nowhere, causes the backup running back to get traded to another team because he does so well. So, yeah, I think you're happy with the rushing performance, but in the passing game, there was just nothing was clicking. Every reception to Travis Hunter felt incredibly forced. Brian Thomas Jr. didn't get involved in the game at all. You had to give him a rushing attempt just to get him a touchdown. I think you're pretty concerned about your passing game. Trevor Lawrence doesn't really show you anything that inspires optimism after how he performed for most of last year. So I think you really need to see more out of this team. It should show you enough by how I'm talking about this team, given they won by 2 touchdowns. And it's really just how bad the Panthers performed. Let's talk about another team that somehow managed to underperform despite winning a game. And let's start by, the defense looks just as good as it did last year. This is probably the best defense in the NFL. It's an incredible defense. Maybe the Packers, and that's about it, have a better defense. But yeah, it was a great defensive performance. But I think what really concerns you about the Broncos is Bo Nix's performance in this game. That just really wasn't good at all. He throws multiple picks. He misses a lot of throws. It's just not what you want to see. You hope it'll get better, but it's not what you want to see. That's really all I wanted to talk about with the Broncos. I think the running game looked good. I think you have a pretty exciting 2-man backfield. But yeah, you hope Bo Nix gets better next week, because it really wasn't good enough this week. On the other end, I think people are probably overreacting this Titans performance. Cam Ward plays the best defense in the NFL in his first game as an NFL starter. Like, what is he supposed to do? He struggled quite a bit to get the ball out of his hands throughout this game. It is what it is. We shouldn't be overreacting to this game like I think many people are. Let's see how he does against not the Denver Broncos and have this conversation again. We will now move on to the 49ers at the Seahawks, where apparently the entire 49ers team is now injured because you already had Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings injured. Then before this game, apparently Christian McCaffrey was injured, though we didn't really see it during the game. Then during the game, George Kittle gets injured. And now we're hearing rumors that Brock Purdy is injured. Now, I haven't looked into this too much, so I'm actually going to look it up live here while I'm recording. Let's see. Brock Purdy has a left shoulder and toe injury. That's quite the combination of things that makes him uncertain for Sunday's game in New Orleans. Kyle Shanahan said the team will see how the practice week goes. If Purdy cannot play, 49ers backup, the best quarterback in the NFL, the gritty king himself, Mac Jones, will be in line to start. So I promise you that is exactly what Adam Schefter's tweet. It included all of the stuff about Mac Jones too. I promise you that. But yeah, so apparently the only player on your offense that isn't injured is Bricky Pearsall, so hopefully he can carry the entire team. But yeah, I think this is an optimistic performance for the 49ers. I think that Brock Purdy struggles in the first 3 quarters of this game. I think he has a really great final drive to win you this game, though. So I don't really think there's too... The defense obviously plays great. They really pressurized Sam Darnold. They forced 2 fumbles during the game. It was a good performance from the 49ers defense. Nick Bosa looked a lot more like the Nick Bosa you expect than a lot of last season. Then on the other end, I would be very concerned if I was a Seahawks fan. I personally predicted the Seahawks would win this game, and this is as someone that had the Seahawks going 7-10, while the 49ers would go 10-7. And when the 49ers, a team I don't think is very good, with injuries, beats a Seahawks team I don't think is going to be very good, man, it doesn't give me much optimism for the Seahawks. Maybe Sam Darnold doesn't play that bad in this game. He does some good things here and there. He obviously has a great connection with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, had about 90% of the team target share during this game. But yeah, it wasn't anything inspiring from Sam Darnold. You want to see him perform a little better. I'm not excited about this team at all. I don't think they're going to be great. We now have... This is a game I feel like we're really overreacting to. And honestly, sometimes overreactions aren't too bad. They're good overreactions. And this is a situation where I do think that's the case. I think the Packers are a solidified Super Bowl contender at this point. This box score does not really show what the score of this game should be. The score of this game should be 27-6. The Lions get a late score. It means absolutely nothing. For all I know, the Packers should have been playing their backups at that point. But yeah, I think the Packers look great during this game. I expect them to get off to a bit of a slow start, to be honest. I expected it would take some time for Micah Parsons to get involved with this offense, and Jaden Reed looked like he was going to miss this game with injury. So I think there were some concerns coming into this game, but you just have a complete performance and just decimate the Lions, especially defensively. If we look at the Lions, though, I would be so concerned if I was a Lions fan. And it honestly has nothing to do with the personnel you have. I don't think there's any blame for this game on Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Monter St. Brown, Sam Laporta, etc. Maybe you expect the defense to play a little bit better. I think that's the one criticism maybe you could give. But I thought the offensive play calling was horrible in this game. And it's funnily enough, if you go back and watch my preseason recap video, it's actually something I mentioned from watching the Hall of Fame game. I know you shouldn't overreact preseason too much, but I was pretty concerned about the Lions offensive play calling after this game. I thought they set up both quarterbacks that played in that game, and Brandon Allen and Hendon Hooker, up for total failure. The play calling did not look good. The rushing schemes did not look good. And we saw that in this game too. So hopefully their coaching staff can get together a little bit, figure out how to play offense, because this is not what you want to see. Obviously, this is a very tough week 1 game for having 2 rookie coordinators. You do play the Chicago Bears next week, who hopefully should be a little bit of an easier opponent, but playing 2 division rivals in back-to-back weeks is quite annoying to do and quite difficult. But I think that kind of covers it for this game. I am trying to move a little bit through this. We're already at 34 minutes, so let's try to not keep it too much longer, especially when we have the big game to still cover. But we have the Rams beating the Texans. I actually don't think there's too much to talk about in this game. I think the most surprising thing for me from this game is that the Rams didn't win by more. Maybe had a little bit to do with Puka Nacua coming in and out of this game, but I thought Puka Nacua had a ridiculously good game today. He really looked like the alpha wide receiver for this team. And Matthew Stafford looked fine. The injury, obviously, you are concerned about the injury, the back injury with him. And he gets the job done. He looks good. I don't really understand how this team didn't win by more. I was watching Red Zone, so obviously they were focusing a little bit more on the Packers-Lions game and then the Broncos-Titans game with the number 1 overall pick playing. I don't really know how to react too much to this. Maybe I got to go and watch the highlights and see why the Rams didn't score more points. But I'll be honest, CJ Stroud looks just as bad as he did last year. I would be very concerned if I was a Texans fan, especially when Nico Collins also gives you nothing in this game. The connection between Stroud and Collins just did not look great. So hopefully they'll rebound in week 2. Well, hopefully they don't. Let's be clear here. But I think they'll rebound a little bit at least. I think they'll look better. But I'm not very optimistic after this game from the Texans. But this is the game I know I want to talk about. This was an all... Okay, hold on. Before I talk about the game, I do want to complain about something quickly. So let's take a look at this graphic. This is a really nice, clean graphic. Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams celebrating together. The scoreline is clear on the right side of the graphic, showing that the Rams win the game. It looks great. Let's take a look at the Monday Night Football graphic. Okay, maybe there's a little bit too much red in this graphic. Why you needed all the stuff on the right side, I don't know. But look at the scorecard looks nice. You clearly know the Vikings won this game. It says Monday Night Football. It gets you hyped up. Then we have this monstrosity with Josh Allen. Maybe the worst picture I've ever seen of Josh Allen. He looks overweight. He looks like an insane person. I don't know who thought this picture was a good idea to show, but it's what is that? Like, why not just make this graphic for the Monday Night Football game? It's just like, what is that? It looks awful. But I digress. I did just want to complain about that for 1 second. But let's just walk ourselves through this game. 3 quarters through this game, the Ravens look incredible. Derrick Henry is unstoppable. Lamar Jackson, everybody's chanting, even in the Bills Stadium, that this should be the rightful MVP, Lamar Jackson. They end up going up 40-25, and then they miss an extra point. And I think to myself, you're up by 15 points. Can't be that important. Then the Bills march down the field and score. And then they do it again. And they miss the 2-point conversion. So now it's 40-38. I'm like, okay, you put the ball back in Lamar Jackson's hand. You put it in Derrick Henry's hand. And now they've got it covered. They'll get the first down. But they don't. And it's now 4th and 2. And I know we're all thinking to ourselves, you give this ball back to Josh Allen, they're going to win this game. We saw what happened when you put the ball in Josh Allen's hands with 30 seconds to go in the second half. He marched down the field and got a field goal opportunity for the Bills. So why would you give him the ball back for free? You have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry run a read option. Whichever one opens up, take the opportunity, and if you don't get it, at least you put it in one of your 2 best players' hands. But you don't. You punt it back to the Bills. And what does Josh Allen do? He marches down the field and gets the team a game-winning field goal. Why do the Ravens always do this? Why can't they just win big games? That's what I want to know. It's just not good enough from the Baltimore Ravens in this game down the stretch. You have to do better. On the play calling side, obviously in no world should Derrick Henry be fumbling in the situation he did. And it's honestly, I'll be honest, this game is in no fault of Lamar Jackson. He played great. And honestly, outside of that one moment, also Derrick Henry played great. And I think you're very optimistic about Zay Flowers' production in the game as well. But, man. And then also, like, what are you doing down the stretch defensively? You have Kyle Hamilton, you have Marlon Humphrey, you have so many guys on this defense. You shouldn't be struggling like you did. But yeah, so I think the Bills, Josh Allen proved why he is the MVP and why he's probably going to be the favorite once again this year. And the Ravens proved why they haven't made a Super Bowl yet, because they just can't close out games. They weren't able to against the Chiefs last year, and they weren't able to in this game. So now you have 2 games in a row where you failed to close out games you should have won. And let's talk about the final game here. We have the Vikings beating the Bears. I do also think this scoreline is a little bit deceiving, because in the second half, in the first half, the Bears defensively crushed the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy did not look good at all. It was a tough performance. And so I don't really think that there was much to take from that. I just think the Bears were the better team. And then in the second half, I thought the Vikings crushed the Bears. The only reason why they stayed in this game is because there was a miscommunication between J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson that led to a pick 6. Otherwise, this game would probably finish 27-7 or 27-10. What the Bears' score was after the start of the third quarter. But if I was a Vikings fan, the second half makes me very optimistic. I thought that the Vikings looked so much better in the second half. J.J. McCarthy really came into his own. He doesn't have this unbelievable performance, but he really does get the job done. And on the other side, I think if I was a Bears fan, this second half performance, especially from Caleb Williams, really concerns me. He looked so out of his depth in the second half. He just kept failing to get rid of the ball. He kept holding on to it for too long. And it was all epitomized by him rolling out of the pocket. There was nothing open. And I was just yelling at my screen, throw the ball away. Throw the ball away. And what does he do? Step out of bounds for a loss of 6 or 7 yards. Come on, man. Like, it's just, why? Just do your job. Throw the ball out of bounds. It was really tough to watch as someone who believes in Caleb Williams. But at this point, he's probably the worst performing. He just lost to the only quarterback you could consider to say he was better than from last year's class. So now, can you say he's better than Drake May? I don't think so, based on the way Drake May performed down the stretch last year. Can you say he's better than Jaden Daniels? Heck no. Can you say he's better than Michael Penix? Not after how Michael Penix performed yesterday. Can you say he's better than Bo Nix? Not after how Bo Nix performed last season. Maybe Bo Nix will fall off a cliff this year. And how can you say he's better than J.J. McCarthy when J.J. McCarthy just beat him on merit? It's not what you want to see if you're a Bears fan, but I digress. I think that is all I want to do for today. So, I would like to just finish this off by thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts on this week 1. Give me your biggest overreactions. English. Biggest overreactions. I would love to see them. I'd love to interact with you guys and talk with you about those overreactions you have. And realistically, make sure you like, subscribe, interact with this video in any way you can. That is how to keep growing this channel. My goal is just to keep posting, try and get the channel growing, and I think we've done a good job of that so far these last couple weeks. So let's keep it up. Let's keep it going. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me, and have a good one. Bye.